Hi, Laymar Wilson. I'm a VFX production visualist. Um, um, in my spare time, I like to make my own visual effects work, which can include almost every process of the post and pre-production pipeline. From concept art from traditional drawing, sketching to 3D model, and then there's also the 2D concept art, which I'm improving my skill, which I will be improving my skills on, which go from 2D to 3D and 2.5D in like After Effects and ZBrush. This is a pretty good book for you visualists and production artists out there. How to render, both from sketch and... This is a pretty damn good book. I guess this is kind of like a review, but this is more of me explaining professionalism, how there's this fine line I have between my professional ability from what I learnt from university to make certain things, to do editing and compositing and 3D creature creation, and on top of that trying to adapt my understanding. Where the fine line is held at is between understanding how the modelling procedure is, and texturing, and making sure the mesh or the wireframe, most people understand mesh as wireframe, is at a right amount of polygons to be animated properly, and on top of that trying to better my skills for dynamics and how to make fire, ice, water, optics, realistic sea, just basically enhance my environment design skills, how to better place creatures in 3D environments, or ships, or given weaponry and clothes, and the feel of motion and weight to certain characters, how they would move based on their anatomy and how they what's the best way to describe it? Or like the anatomy and what they are, if they're some weird alien thing, or because at the moment I'm because I did 3 years of digital film through the animation tech, science, technology, and to get it all, there's that other fine line where what you learn at university you adapt in your own time when you're finished through your life, and that could be in your spare time or through what's it called, through like work, or because it makes you think. Well, you just finished your degree, your honours degree, my honours degree, which was an undergraduate. Is it worth doing a master's? Because I spend almost as much time in my own time as I would do on a master's to try and finish a project. The only difference is when you're doing a master's, you don't have time to. You won't have as much time to, like, the deadlines won't keep you tied down and just frustrated as much as some people would get. Frustrated and you have to be, so for me, you have to be like in a, right, you have to get back into this mental state of wanting to put yourself through more, trying to understand stuff. But to do a master's, I guess I could do one, but I don't know. What do you think? Do you think I should do a master's? Because I found this weird thing where you can't sit down and learn as easily and take your time with something and understand something and process it more when you have a deadline or when you have to hand it in. Because when I tried to learn high dynamic range imagery and IBL, image-based lighting for 3D environments, and how to do 3D panoramas to lighten a scene and put it all together, I didn't understand the basics of HDRI, or should I say not the basics, but how that mixes in with light and the physical side of it too well until after I handed it in, like several months before, and I did more research in it, and then I sort of learnt from the photon. So from the light itself, I learnt what it's made up of and how it congeals from the camera, from the photon to the camera, how it's processed from that, from the electromagnetic spectrum. When you're doing high dynamic range imagery, you need something that can take up to 32 bits bit depth, or higher. And yeah, so I do have 32-bit. It doesn't have to be, but then you render it out in the end as 32-bit, and then you set up certain parameters in Maya or 3D Max. I used Maya, but I will try it in Max and Unity and maybe Blender and Modo and probably Cinema 4D, and then like test them out with each other to see what advantages and disadvantages each program has. There's some places I want to go to actually film for my animations that I'm making in my spare time now. So I've sort of mixed everything from science, technology. So photon is divided between a frequency and a wavelength, and the frequency pulsates at cycles per second, while the wavelength carries the pigment or the the RGB colors. Yeah, I did the video on that if anyone's interested in the physics side of that. Because anything beyond 32-bit is also equivalent of 14 eV, which is the point of the spectrum of human vision, how we perceive stuff. So anything beyond 32-bit is ultraviolet, so you can see invisible stuff like various gases and infrared. Ultraviolet is 16 eV, which is just beyond the point of human sight. So learning light and rendering with 3D is, for me, pretty essential. And then also the art aspect of it, which also light takes shade and contrast into consideration. But yeah, then the other half, the side of art, is like, how are you making this? Is it a cartoon? Is it anime? Is different ways, or is it realistic design one's making? For me, mostly my main projects are proper VFX, realistic render, and so this is one of my books. I have at least 5 books to go through. I have this character creation book, how to learn how to do proper skin renders and not epidermal. Yeah, how skin reacts to light, and how to get skin tone on 3D models, and then later how to rig models to actually process. Yeah, how to process anatomy over that, so the anatomy flows with the 3D model. So how to add muscle structure and bone structure over like creatures, and which has been done for all sorts of things. They've been doing it in Jurassic Park for the Velociraptors back in the 90s, and then they did it for they did it for Gollum in Lord of the Rings, and then they did it for the dragons in HBO's what's it called? I have done a bit on skin, but this will take it to the next level, how to like between animal, human skin, how to add veins, how to simulate hair, and because I'm going to make I've already got the blueprint, my concept for Skinwalker that I'm going to do, and then I'm going to have to animate it, model it right for animation, and then rig it. which I'm basing off ancient mythos from around the world. Everything from Native American skinwalker to reptilians to, and I'm going to have them battle at some point. And so I'm going to have to do advanced facial rigging for eyes and facial movements and hands. I've done basic facial rigging before, but not quite advanced. And then get to know anatomy more, and I started learning anatomy some fair time ago. For the face side, for the taste, I know there's 44 muscles of the face, and a year ago I remember learning the first 22. So I've got to catch up on that at some point. And on top of that, between this and trying to find like just a basic part-time job, save up some money so I can go to some of these places, because I'm in the UK at the moment. So, well, I've always been in the UK, so I need to go to some places in Wisconsin to where the trails of the some of the Native American parks that you can visit, like a tourism thing. I want to go to the one in Wisconsin and do some 3D panoramas in the same way that people did. The people made panos for the Prometheus movies, and I'll be using this camera I'm using now because it can do panos, and it's 50 megapixel camera, and it takes full 32-bit panos. Just to make you understand, for film, most 4K TVs, you know, them nice curved ones with the sound, they only run at 12 bits, and that's with the white pixel that they added in, the RGB and white subpixel. But the highest on their manufacturer websites that they have is 14-bit, which isn't very high for high contrast, and their dynamic contrast ratio isn't very, very high for them kind of TVs, really. That's why I don't have a 4K monitor or TV yet, because they haven't exactly made what I'm looking for. In fact, I've probably got another 5 to 8 years before they release the 4K or 8K or 6K monitor or TV that I want. So I'm sticking with my 32-bit HD monitor at the moment for Blu-ray, 32-bit and 50 million to 1 ratio. Not static, active. No, what was it? Contrast ratio, which is better than. Besides resolution only being HD, everything else is much better than any 4K spec device out at the moment. Even the professional monitors, I think there is 32 ones, but most of them are like, I think maybe 24. Yeah, so maybe in 5 years, by the time they perfected it, they would probably have 48-bit monitors by then, because my Blu-ray player to play the high-end frequency optimized for Blu-ray. Optimized for 4K. They say color frequency. Here you go. Let's see if I can focus it. Let's see, where is it? See, mastered for 4K, but it's only the color space for Blu-ray. Come on, where is it? Let's see if I can keep the camera still while I... there it is. Compatible TV. This color space CCYXV. I don't know.